Defusion and Mindfulness. Hello and welcome to the Let Your Values Be Your Guide program. This is a 5-week program aimed to help people like you who are in cardiac and pulmonary rehab make meaningful and long-lasting lifestyle changes. We will accompany you on this journey where you will learn about your personal values or what's important to you and figure out ways to incorporate these in your day-to-day. You will also learn about practicing acceptance and compassion or kindness for yourself. With each topic, you will encounter something new, and we encourage you to approach the content and exercises with openness and curiosity. We will be there to help you in case you need any clarification or support. We appreciate you taking part in this program. One thing we know is that cardiac and pulmonary rehab is all about making changes. And sometimes those changes can be pretty difficult, especially when they don't necessarily fit with what's important to you right here and right now. Sometimes in life, we have other things that are going on that we would rather focus on or prioritize. So during this program, we're going to reflect on your goals and what's important to you and figure out ways to help you practice acceptance and compassion. During today, we're going to be talking about diffusion and mindfulness. Today's class is going to be focused on you learning ways to become more aware of your thinking and how your thinking can influence the things that you choose to do, and discuss ways to be more present in your daily life. Remember, in order to get the most out of this program, we encourage you to use your workbook and follow along to complete the practice exercises. Let us know if you have any trouble filling out these exercises or have any questions. Let's begin with a brief exercise. First, I want you to hold your hands in front of your face, about 2 inches away. Notice that all you can see are your hands. You can't see anything else in the room or anything that's happening around you. I want you to think of your hands as your problems or challenges that you face in your life. Now, I want you to create space between your face and your hands by extending your arms outward. With your arms extended, you've widened your view, and now you can still see your hands, but you can also see everything else in the room and what's going on around you. That's the whole point of what we will do today. Thinking of your hands as your problems and challenges, it can be easy to miss out on what's happening around you when we're only focused on what's in front of us. But by being more aware, we can focus more on not just our problems, but we can focus on other things that are happening in our lives as well. We make more space. The word fusion means two things that are melted or joined together. The word defusion is the opposite. It's taking those two things and pulling them apart, or gaining some space between each other. In thinking about your thoughts and the way you think about the world and things happening to you, diffusion is about learning the way that you view yourself and your situation and noticing your thoughts rather than avoiding them or getting caught up in them. And it's about letting thoughts come and go rather than holding on to them. And in other words, not letting our thoughts hold us back. So, when we think about diffusion, I want you to think about it as making space between you and your thoughts. Think about it like watching clouds in the sky. Our thoughts are just like the clouds that are passing you by. And those thoughts are changing all the time. Like the popular saying, "This too shall pass," new thoughts will rise into our awareness, and then they will drift out of awareness and disappear. And if we give it enough time, every thought eventually passes us by, just like a cloud in the sky. When we're feeling stuck and experiencing a lot of negative thoughts, It's really hard to see the bigger picture. But by being more aware of how these thoughts can affect us, we can begin to reframe them in a more positive or helpful way. Think of the following example. Let's pretend that you are a bus driver, and the bus that you're driving is full of passengers. Those passengers represent your thoughts, feelings, memories, and emotions. As long as you stick to driving along the same old road, the passengers pretty much stay in their seats at the back of the bus and don't make too much of a racket. The real problem starts when you try turning in a new direction, such as turning down the values road or turning left on the new experiences road. If you try doing this, those passengers start to get really upset. The moment that you turn down that road, the passengers start to leave their seats. They stand in the aisle and they start yelling at you. They say, "Where are you going? You can't turn that way." They say, "Remember what happened last time you tried turning down that road? You failed miserably. Stay on the old road or we're going to come up there." They say, "You're going to get us lost or worse." They say, "Who do you think we are? We're in charge here. Do as we say." There are a lot of passengers on the bus, and some of them are big and scary looking. Therefore, you decide it would be best to listen to them and just stay on the same old road. The passengers respond to your decision to have everything stay the same by sitting and quieting down. Some time goes by and you start getting bored. You're tired of always driving down that same street and you want to do something new. But, nevertheless, when you once again try turning down a different road, the same thing takes place. Passengers riot, they scream, they make threats. But now you've had it. You stop the bus and you tell the passengers to get off. However, they refuse to do so. You stand up and you wrestle with a couple of the passengers and try to push them off, but they're too strong. Doesn't matter how hard you push, they simply resist. You give up, you sit back behind the wheel of the bus and start driving down that same old road again. Then, one day it hits you. The passengers can yell at you and threaten you, but they can't actually hurt you. That's when you decide to drive down the values road or the new experiences road. No matter how upset the passengers get, sure enough, as soon as you turn to the right, all hell breaks loose. Nevertheless, you stick to your decision and you keep going down that values road. After all, it's your bus, you're the one who's driving, and you decide where to go. Now the passengers are screaming in your ear, stomping their feet, getting blue in the face. You feel somewhat anxious, but you keep driving. You accept that you're going to have to put up with the passengers' insults, but that's not going to hold you back any longer. You've committed to driving down the values road, and the passengers on the bus are just going to have to come along for the ride, whether they like it or not. Those who live with a chronic illness may have the thought, "I will always feel bad," or "any form of exercise makes my symptoms worse." Constantly having thoughts like this can make them feel like truths. And when those thoughts start to feel like truths, then that can lead to a lot of distress. Ultimately, these thoughts can hold you back from doing things that can improve your health in the long run, like staying motivated to attend rehab. If we're constantly feeling anxious about making our symptoms worse, or if we're convinced that rehab is not going to do us any good, it's hard to stay motivated to keep coming. What we want you to do is to try and notice when these thoughts are happening and thank your brain for trying to keep you safe. Ultimately, your brain is trying to do its job by trying to keep you out of trouble or trying to keep you from harm's way. But sometimes our brain is working just a little too hard, and sometimes we're actually safe, even if our brain doesn't really think so. So, next time these thoughts come up and you start feeling stressed while at rehab, try asking yourself, how is this thought holding me back? Remember, these thoughts and feelings are temporary. Thoughts are not facts, and we have control over what we do despite having these thoughts and feelings. Remember the passengers on the bus example. We're the driver of our bus, and our thoughts can tell us where to go, but ultimately we make that decision. Cardiac and pulmonary rehab is all about making big changes. Some of these changes may be easy or something that you've done before, but a lot of them may be changes that are completely new to you. Many of you are being asked to do things like eating healthier and exercising more. And these changes are not easy, especially if those changes make you feel unpleasant or cause any kind of discomfort. For example, exercising can cause you to feel out of breath or your heart to beat faster, and that can be scary and uncomfortable. It's hard to make these changes also when they don't fit with your personal values or what's important to you. What we want to do throughout this program is think about what's important to you and think of new ways to incorporate those things that are important to you into your day-to-day and into your experience at rehab. We also want you to be more aware of your thinking and how when you feel uncomfortable or distressed, how the thoughts that you're having can hold you back from getting the most out of rehab. I want you to consider what it means to you to be present in the moment or mindful of something. Write down what you think this means to you on page 17 in your workbook. Negative and unhelpful thoughts can often distract us from what's happening in the moment and what's important to us. It can be hard to stay present when dealing with things like a chronic illness or when thinking about what's happened or what could happen to us. Being mindful or present in the moment can help us to stay focused on what's happening right here and right now, which can help us get the most out of the things that are important to us. It helps us fully participate. Being mindful or present helps us let our thoughts come and go without getting fused with them or caught up in them. And it helps us let feelings be as they are without trying to control them. Sometimes it's okay to let us have those hard feelings and to show compassion to ourselves so that we can let those thoughts and feelings pass like a cloud in the sky. When we think of mindfulness, being mindful does not mean being stress-free or being calm necessarily. It doesn't mean emptying your thoughts or having a blank mind. And it doesn't mean being perfect. Simply, you're just being aware of the way that you're thinking, the way that you're feeling. And by being more aware, you have more options of what you choose to do next. In other words, you're not being controlled by your thoughts. As I mentioned before, the negative and unhelpful thoughts can often distract you from what's happening in the moment. For example, fear of pain can lead you to avoid certain activities or situations that you're worried may cause increased pain or discomfort, such as attending rehab. That anxiety or fear of causing more pain can sometimes lead you to avoid that situation. Avoidance can make a stressful situation worse. and can prevent you from getting the full benefit. In terms of rehab, when we avoid going to rehab, we're not really getting the full benefit. We're holding ourselves back. It can be hard to stay present when suffering from pain, or when you're replaying past events or memories, or worrying about possible outcomes. In other words, when you're telling yourself that you should or shouldn't do something, or if you're saying, what if this happens to me and then I feel worse, those shoulds and what ifs can be really distressing and can distract you from doing the things that you need to do to get the full benefit of rehab. Here's a quick example of practicing mindfulness in your day-to-day. I want you to take any object into your hands. If you don't have an object near you, try touching the surface of a table, or maybe feeling an article of clothing that you're wearing. Once you've chosen your object, I want you to touch it and notice how it feels. Really pay attention to its shape. What is the texture of this object like? The temperature? Try gently squeezing it. Does this object have a smell? By noticing and focusing on this one object, you're practicing paying attention. Everything else fades in the background when you're concentrating on that one single thing. This is what mindfulness is about. It's about noticing what's right in front of you in the present moment and not being distracted by the other things around you. This is like when unhelpful thoughts pop into your head and you start feeling stressed. By noticing these thoughts, making space between you and those thoughts, remember, thinking about it like a cloud passing by in the sky, you can really have more control over what you decide to do, despite having those thoughts and feelings. In other words, you're taking stock into how you're thinking and feeling, but still having control over what you choose to do despite those thoughts and feelings. You can practice mindfulness or being present in a number of different ways. Mindfulness requires daily practice, though. If there's no commitment, then we can easily fall back into our old habits. The following are activities that you can do in a mindful way. For example, you can eat mindfully. Try eating your food slowly and mindfully focusing on its flavor, smell, texture, and how full you feel. You could try moving mindfully. Try stretching throughout the day or start walking for a few minutes each day, focusing on the feeling of the ground beneath your feet and how your clothes and shoes feel on your body. You can listen mindfully. Pick a favorite song and be fully present and listen with kindness and without judgment. Connect with somebody that you love. You can be present for each other and consider what it feels like to spend time with this person. Refer to your workbook on page 18 and 19. There's a number of other examples of mindfulness activities that you can try on your own time. Next, I want you to consider your values, or what's important to you. Try and think of an activity that you can do mindfully. Take notes on what it feels like to be doing that activity. Remember, try to pick something that is important to you, like maybe spend time with an old friend, or try a new hobby, or try and do something that you've really been missing. We have reached the end of today's talk. Remember, diffusion means not letting our thoughts hold us back. It's about making space between ourselves and our thoughts and feelings so they have less control over us. Remember, we are more in control when we are aware of the way that we think. Being mindful or present can help us stay focused on what's happening in the moment, and this can help us fully participate in things that are important to us. Over the next week, remember to review your workbook, complete any practice exercises, and remember to answer any questions on your phone or paper forms. Let us know if you have any questions about filling out these questions or about anything in the workbook. Thank you for your time.